Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Ksuvos Daf Beis, we are going to begin at the beginning of the Masechta. Besula Nises L'Yom HaRavi. Now, when it comes to a woman who is a Besula, the Chachamim instituted that she should get married on Wednesday. We'll discuss the reason why. But Almana, when it comes to a widow, she should get married L'Yom Chamishi. She should get married on a Thursday. And then the Mishnah explains Shepa'amim b'Shabbos, actually 2 times a week, but the dinim yoshmin bayarais, the Beis Din will sit in these different cities, and that's where they will give their court cases, namely b'yom hasheni b'yom hachamishi. They would convene on a Monday and on a Thursday. And this is specifically why we made a takana for the Besula to get married on Wednesday. It says Rashi, Achas Me'eser Tekanos Shetikin Ezra. This is actually one of the 10 Tekanos that Ezra was masakin, as we find in Perik Maruba and Baba Kama. Farish Kul, Kach Tiknu, Rashi says, Shetinasi B'Ravi, why should she get married on Wednesday? Sheim Hoyelo Tainis Besulam. If, let's say, the man says, I thought she was a Besula, in fact she wasn't, so Yashkim will Beis Din, that next morning you can go to Beis Din, B'Oit Kaso Olav, Yimei Shais Benehem Yesh Lochosh, Shema Yispayes, in this Kair Daitoi. Now we're concerned that, let's say he didn't get married on Wednesday, find out about this, even though it's Tainis Besulim, he's not going to go to the Beis Din afterwards, and he'll remain with her. Shema Hizin Satachta. Maybe she actually had committed adultery while they were already engaged. The Nesser love, and he's actually usher, as it says in Masechta Sota, from the pasuk v'nistera v'hinitma mitash yavel Beis Din. The fact that he goes to Beis Din is bar hadavar. Everything will be explained. K'shiyetze hakoil shema yavo edim gemara parach v'tinasi be'echad b'Shabbos. So, because of this, basically he's able to immediately address the situation the very next morning. Of course, that would make sense. Then you should be able to get married on Sunday, which seems to be a very common day in which people get married, because Beis Din will convene the next day as well. So that the Gemara is going to discuss the reason why Sunday is not better than Wednesday. Okay, so let's continue the Mishnah. Again, they convene on Monday and Thursday. He would go to Beis Din. Now, says the Gemara, Omer Rabbi Yosef, Omer Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Shmuel. Nemnei Omru Besula Nises L'Yom HaRavi. So the question is, why did they institute, again, a Besula should get married on Wednesday? Because we learned, Hagizman, let's say the time reaches, and we're going to see that they have 12 months in order to perform the Nisuin. Nisu, let's say they didn't get married, so oichlos mishalov ochlos b'truma. She can eat from him and also eat truma. Says Rashi, l'kamen perik afalpi ditnan noisnel b'sul shnei masar chodesh. There's 12 months. Mishatavo habal, from the time that the husband wishes to marry her, behizar al hanisuin lefarnes atzma b'tachshitim. So he has to start taking care of her after that amount of time. And for an almana, he's given 12 months. So if that time reaches and he didn't actually perform the chuppah, as we see that the husband is the one that doesn't do it, it's on him. So the din is that she will be able to be supported from him. And also she eats, Rashi says, oicholis mishalo, shabal chay b'mezonos ishto. But the tekanas Beis Din. So one of the tekanas is that he has to provide food for his wife. So the fact that he didn't do chuppah with her, that's on him, and therefore he has to support her. Also, if he's a kohen, says Rashi, v'bas Yisrael shar kohen maichelas ishto truma, that we know that a bas Yisrael, if she gets married, she could eat truma. From the pasuk that says v'hakohen ki yekne nefesh. Midrabanan, we say we don't want her to get to eat truma for a couple of reasons. Maybe she'll share it with her non-Kohanim family. But once the 12 months go by, so she can even eat truma. Now the Gemara continues. What if that year stops on a Sunday? You would think that she should get mazonos right then and there on that Sunday. That he's actually given up until that time, which is the takana of getting married on a Wednesday. So if the year falls out to fall on a Sunday, so he at least has those 3 extra days. Now, Rabbi Yosef, Mar Davram, literally master Avram, Toli Tanya, Bidoloi Tanya. You're hanging something that we learn on something that is not learned. And this is something, again, he's perplexed by this statement. Says Rashi, Toila Tam Mishnah, Shinuya, but Mishnah Shenu Shinuya. You're hanging the reason of our Mishnah based on this. Where else is what I mean? Hi Tanya, Hi Lo Tanya, which is not learned. Hi Tanya, Hi Tanya. They're both learned. Ela Tali Tanya, the Mefarish Taima. You're hanging that which we learned on something which we already was explained. Bidetanya Deloy Mefarish Taima. On something which was not explained. Says Rashi, Mishnah Seinu, our Mishnah, Taima Mefarish V'Seicha. It says explicitly the reason why she gets married on Wednesday is Kedei Shiyashkim LeBeistin, so he can go to Beistin. The Gizman Ein Shum Tam Mefarish. This whole notion about if the 12 months come, it doesn't say the reason why on Sunday she doesn't get mazonos. So it's hard. It should be the other way around. Or if you want to learn anything, this is how you learn it. Why on Wednesday? So they can go to the Beistin that next day on Thursday. So for the Gemara, so the question is, we can say the same thing when it comes to getting married on Sunday. Well, that should be acceptable. The answer is Shaktu Chachamim al Takanas Benos Yisrael. So we say the din of Shaktu Chachamim, that what the Chachamim do, Sheyehei Tarech B'Suda Shloishi Yomim Echad B'Shabbos Sheni B'Shabbos Shishi B'Shabbos Urvi Kainza. We don't want you to get married on a Sunday. That means you're not going to be providing a proper chasna, a proper wedding for this girl, and therefore we would rather you spend a few days, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, preparing a beautiful Suda so that the wedding will be done properly. Once we establish this concept that there's a tekana of pushing it off, even though technically Sunday would alleviate the issue of Tanis Basulim, but there's this reason of Shaktu. So once we instituted Shaktu, if a year goes by and she didn't get married, so as we said, you have to give her mizonos. However, he gives man be'echad b'Shabbos so you don't have to give her the mizonos. Therefore, it's only when it's out of his control. Mashma, if he's sick, or she's sick, or she's in nida, so ain't a malo mizonos. So for those reasons, you would not give mizonos, because based on that, it's very possible that he would have done it. However, in this situation, because the case was that it was out of his control, he was sick, she was sick, or she was in nida, so then he doesn't have to give mazonos. So, and this is the first question. Question TA 16. These are 3 situations. Whether or not you eat or not, and it's choilhu, shechal sehi, or pirsanida, shul b'shas vesta. So this, now according to this lashon, it sounds pretty clear that she does not get mazonos. We're going to see it's not with divrei hakoil. So we'll end up seeing that as we continue, because v'ika de boya lo beboya. Some actually ask it as shaila. Cholahu mahu. If he's sick, what's the din about him having to give mazonos after a year? Time of my mishum de onis, if when we talked about, let's say it falls on a Sunday, it's not his fault, it happens to be, he should be given until that Wednesday. So there's also an oinus when he came sick. The Rabbanan instituted shaktu. The fact that he got sick, that's unfortunately on him. Maybe he has to give mazenis when he's sick. If she's sick, what's the din? Matzi Armala is able to say to her, I'm right here. I want to marry you. Right? I know you're sick in bed, you have COVID or whatnot, doesn't matter. That shouldn't be on me. I shouldn't have to give mazonos. Well, Dilma Matzi Amrle Nistachbos Sadeu. You can say your field is flooded, which basically is saying it's your mazel that caused this to happen to you, and therefore you still have to give me mazonos even though I'm sick. V'imtim Solemer Amrula Nistachbos Sadeu, that she could say, I'm sorry, it's your mazel. So Pirsa Nida Mahu, what's a din? So B'shas Vesta will tiboilach. If it's a time where she always has, she always sees Dam Nida, right? She has a chazaka, begufa, that she's constantly on a particular day, or she has a hargasha, she always has a vest on a particular time. So that's certainly not a question as we continue to Beis and Beis. Delul Matzi Amru and the Stachbos Sadeu. There she cannot say, it's your mazel. It's not mazel, it's a fact that it happens all the time. The shaila is, if it happens that she's in nida during a time when she normally doesn't see. The fact that she saw at her unusual time, so maybe it is his mazel. So there's some women who have different times. So this is considered to be like her vest. So Pashta Rav Achai Hagizman will niso. So he said if the 12 months come by and didn't get married, oichos mishlav oichos betruma. So he has to give her food. Lo nasu lo katani el lo nisu. Now what does that mean? Hechadami idika ma'akvan inhi. If she was the one that was ma'akiv the whole thing, amayochos mishlav oichos betruma. If it was her doing, it doesn't seem right that she should be entitled to mazonos if it was her that held back the whole situation. Elav the isnis ki hagavna. That what happened is that he's the one that was the oinus. So we see from here, it's a raya that if it's on him, that the din is that you do eat that she gets to eat truma. So Ravashi, no. The truth is, if there's any oinus, if he's sick, she's sick, or she's in nida, doesn't make a difference. She doesn't get mazonos. And when it's talking about over there, it's talking about actually where he was the one that held it back. But the dinhu di iboyle misne nosu. The idea the tani reisha bedid hui tani nami seva bedid he. So we just wanted to have it consistent. As we saw in the Reisha, we give her 12 months and Almana 30 days. So therefore we also mention it in this same format. But the truth is it doesn't make any difference. Even if he was the one who was the oinus, like he was sick, the din still is that she will not get the truma, she will not be able to eat, because when it comes to any oinus, she doesn't get. Question 7. Hegizmana linasa, who piercing nida. Himoichelos mishaloi. So if she becomes a nida, so we say inoichelos mishalo, she does not get to eat. Vigid amri dahainu b'shas vesta. That's only b'shas vesta. Avol shlo b'shas vesta iboya. Maybe when it comes to shlo b'shas vesta, again she could stay in the stachvos sadehu, and therefore maybe she does get to eat. Okay, fine. Cool. Let's continue with the 2 dots. Omer Rabba. When it comes to gittin, it is not so. What is this referring to? So look at Rashi. Lafikach koi dashmiinan she'akvas oines poitraso minimizainis. So he said that if there was an ones, so even though the 12 months went by, she doesn't get mazonos. So we see an ones actually matters when it comes to the dinim of her getting mazonos. However, in gittin inu Tinus oinus mo elas. Saying that it was beyond your control doesn't matter. Says Rashi, Im nasin get li ishto. If you give a get to your wife, al manas im lo avo ad zman ploini yehi get. If I don't get there by such and such a time, it'll be a get. Venenis, v'lo ba, he really wanted to get there, but for some reason it was an oinus. He says, if I get to Hawaii in the next year, then it's not a get. And then he books a ticket, and then for some reason there was a delay or a cancellation. So it's not my fault. So how does it get? It doesn't make any difference. The reality is you made a condition whether or not you're going to get to Hawaii or not, and you didn't get there. And since It was even though it was an oinus. So it works when it comes to her not getting mazonos, and ones will make him not have to give her mazonos. Mashenkin when it comes to gittin. And then gittin ain't okay. Alma says the Gemara, Ksavar Rava ain't oinus begittin. Clearly there's no din of oinus when it comes to a get. You can't taina as an oinus, rather the get works. So minali Rava ha. How does Rava know that this is the case? We're going to start this getting you make this condition that it'll be a get if I don't get there within 12 months. And the guy mamish dies. So ain't a get. Obviously in that situation, it's not a get. Because that person died and in get achar misa. And says Rashi, not only is it not a get, we say that it's if they don't have children, then she has to do yibum with his brother. However, mace who didn't get, it's only because he died. But if he was sick, it is a get, right? So what do we see? The fact that he was sick doesn't make any difference. The reality is that when it comes to an oinus of him being sick, we say, I'm sorry, he didn't make it. So it's a valid get. So from here it's a raya that in oinus begin. The rest is not necessary. But get. Really, maybe there is oinus beget, and therefore even if he's sick, the get will not be chal. So v'hi gufa kamashma the ein get lachamisa. Just come to teach us the din of ein get lachamisa. That's why I mentions the case of him dying. But it's not that you should make a diuk, because also the din would apply to when it comes to a chayla that it will not be a get. Fine. Kamashma the ein get lachamisa. Ein get lachamisa hatanili ratio. We already learned that. Harizekitech im mati. This is a get if I die. Harizekitech yichalizeh from the sickness. Harizekitech lachamisa. Lomer klum. So if he says this is a get, once I die, after I have died, then let this get be in effect. It doesn't do anything because in gel chamisa. So we already learned that in the Reisha. So therefore, this l'chayra shouldn't be coming to say the same thing. Moran says dil mulafuki min rabosenu. Maybe it's actually just coming to exclude the rabosenu. The sign the rabosenu hitiruha linase, that the rabosenu actually allowed her to get married. So Vamrinan man Rabosenu, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel Beidina Desharu Mishcha. It was the same beis din that mattered this particular type of oil. Savalak Rabbi Yosi Dermizmana Shel Shtar Mochiach Alav. He says you should actually look at the time that's written on the star. It says Rashi Kivan de Kasa Beget Zman Ksivasai Hu Mochiach. The time that the get was written is the proof. Shikach Ermela, Imol Basil Oiso Zman Yeheget Lumafreya Mehayoim. So according to the Rabbeinu, he actually says it is a get. We don't say that the get was only chal later on, it was after he died. According to them, he said no. The fact that there's a mentioning on the document of the get, that in itself, that Zman is mochiach that it should work retroactively. It should work lemafreya. So this is again, and therefore it don't matter whether she's going to be zakak yavam based on that. Question 8. Question says as follows: and the guy actually dies. He's a kuka yavam umatam. So one is, of course, she's zakak yavam because in get lachamisa. Or we can say she's mutter to marry whoever she wants. The zman of the star is machiach, and it's like it was written mehayoim. Okay, that was question 8, which is also question TB 17. Same question, TB 17. Okay, weiter. So the Gemara says as follows: Vel Maseifa. So maybe we can actually then learn out from the Seifa this din of Einoin this beget. Miachshav. If a person says this will be your get from right now, he dies within those 12 months, how is that get? It's a get. That that when it comes to the fact he said me'achshav, that makes it that it's chal right away. It doesn't make a difference even by an oinus l'chayra, and therefore we learn ein oinus begin. Whereas no dilma meis daf gadol nichle the tipul k'mei yavam. Maybe it was specific to death, is what it's referring to. It doesn't mention death at all. He just says mi'achshav imo ba'asi. So maybe he's specifically talking about because he doesn't want his wife to fall to yibum. So maybe not necessarily would that din apply also when it comes to a chayla. El maha dahud yarmelahu is a story. Iwo asina mikan viad tlasin yoimin. If it don't come within the next 30 days, lavigita. Also b'soif tlasin yoimin. So it was right before the deadline of the 30 days, and he was about to go and a paski mavra, and the ferry basically was separating him. He had to get to the other side of the river. Armulhu chazid asoy. He was screaming, "Look, I'm here! I'm just on the other side of the river." So Amar Shmuel lav shmei masya. This is not the name of the city. In other words, he's not considered to have arrived, and therefore it's considered to be a get. And therefore, if she wants, she can marry someone else. And also, Rashi says v'gam kahuna nefselos mihayoyim. She's not possible to kahuna because it's a gerush, it's a divorce. Obviously, we see because ain't oinus begin. Maybe when it comes to an oinus that shchiach is something he should have thought about. Since he should have made that condition. So he actually lost himself. The fact is, he should have had that in mind. So that doesn't necessarily prove when it comes to other situations that when it comes to oinsin, we'll say ein oinsin begin. So we're going to see on tomorrow's daf the reason why we say ein oinus beget, and as of now, it's not derived from any of the sources that we saw yet. But again, tomorrow we'll resolve exactly how we know when it comes to gittin ein oinus begin. Ad kan.